Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net. Thanks again for watching. And it's Saturday the 7th of June. Let's just take a look at the prospects for the coming week and beyond that. This is the ECMWF day-to-day charts taking us through for the next 10 days. And initially you notice here on the analysis chart from last night, we've got this deep trough that's out towards the west of the country. Notice how we get this secondary feature here that kind of just moves in to this trough. It sort of feeds it, so it then draws the energy from that second trough and kind of elongates itself through the Atlantic before this next feature comes and joins in the party, and that one is forecast to be sinking down to the west of the Azores. Now what's interesting here is notice as it does so, what it does is it turns this ridge round here, pumps warm air northwards, so that by day 8 we've got this quite substantial ridge through the country. It's still there at day 9, but across the north of the country here, look, just plopping around the north of Scotland, it's trying to get south. The trough that you see there to the north of Scotland is trying its absolute best to get southwards, but it can't do so because of the ridge down to the south. So what it does is the ridge kind of just gets dented up the top there, and then this trough here slips down into the North Sea, bringing more of a northerly flow. Now, what's interesting is that this idea of this northerly flow developing with the ridge out to the west is one that's being shown on the on the GFS ensemble and also the Canadian ensemble. They both want to try and bring us into northerly winds. They do also take us through dry weather at the end of this week, and then make it generally dry through next weekend, apart from across northern Scotland, but then try and bring in this northerly flow. Now what's interesting here is that if that northerly flow does set in, so if we do start to see, and worth noting the GFS ensemble actually starts that northerly flow at around day 7, so next Saturday. If we do start to see that northerly flow, then the result of that would be that if that cooler air can get down into eastern parts of Europe, eventually what we would find is a trough developing over the eastern parts of Europe here, and it would pull north the ridge. So the ridge would kind of do that, the trough would be down here like that, low pressure in here, high pressure in here, low pressure in here. So we'd get an omega block forming. Now that would mean that we would get several days then of dry weather once that omega block formed, which would be into next weekend and early into the week after next. So when would that take us up to? That's going to be taking us kind of up to around mid-month, and if that did get in, then it would really take something to get rid of it. Now what's interesting is if we take a look at the models and how they've been performing, this is the 5-day forecasts from the 6th of May through to 6th of June. And it shows us basically the correlation of those 5-day forecasts for 500 millibars. So what we show on here is the black line is the GFS, as you can see here. ECMWF is underneath in red. The Canadian is in green. UK Met is in orange. Notice how far above the ECMWF is consistently, look here, above most of the other models. Yes, we go into spells where it's not, but if we look here, since the end of May, look, it's consistently performed or outperformed the other models. So, and what's interesting there as well is the Canadian has also performed very well. The correlation on the ECMWF is coming in at 0.886. That's followed by the UK Met Office 0.865, which is what you'd expect because some of the dynamics are the same. And then the Canadian very closely follows that on a 0.864. So it's the ECMWF that at the moment certainly has the high ground. And so it's interesting to look at these two charts. We've got the ECMWF on the left, we've got the GFS on the right. This is the 7 to 10 day mean of the 500 millibar flow. So this is going towards from next Saturday to Tuesday the 17th. And look, the ECMWF makes way more of the trough in the Atlantic and more of the ridge through the UK and brings it further east through the UK as well by the end of next week into the weekend. GFS far less, makes far less of the trough here, majors on the ridge in the Atlantic, which in turn pulls down this northerly flow more strongly, into the east of the UK, down into Europe. Now, GFS certainly would have a more unsettled look to things should this come true. ECMWF is a far more settled look to things across most of the UK, although I think we've got to accept that the eastern coast of the country by the end of the week and next weekend probably could be on that northerly flow, seeing some showers. But given that ECMWF has performed so well recently, I think we do have to lean into the ECMWF. And something else that's quite interesting to note from these charts just at the moment, look, is the how sharp we have this low the normal height to the south of the North Pole. Well, everything's south of the North Pole, isn't it? In the, I suppose you'd say, across the sort of northern parts of Russia, but also here, look, across the opposite side of the pole, how we've got the opposite, we've got that low the normal height there as well, showing up very clearly on these charts. Now the CFS shows high the normal heights out towards the east of the UK during week 1, so this is from the 7th of June through to the 13th, so taking us up to the end of next weekend. And it's got low the normal heights here, look, out towards the west. So what it's trying to do is to put a trough out here, ridge out towards the east. And CFS obviously very closely based model on the GFS. And this is from yesterday, so it's not from the latest run of the model. But what it shows us is quite a deep trough out towards the west of the country, which would bring those unsettled conditions. Now, for week 2, so this is from the 14th of June through to the 20th of June, it's building heights up towards the north. It tries to get this high down across the north of the country, bringing the drier weather there. But you notice that we've got near normal heights down towards the south. Now, what I think this really is going to mean for us is that we're going to be having some unsettled conditions down across the south of the country, because I do think that low pressure is going to develop across France on this one, and that would bring us higher pressure up towards the north, dry conditions Scotland and Northern Ireland, low pressure down towards the south, which could at times just fling these areas of thundery rain northwards into southern parts of England, perhaps southern Wales, perhaps one or two of them managing to penetrate northwards. But I think for much of northern England and Scotland we're drier. For the south, though, always got to watch out for those showers, and probably fairly warm on that scenario as well across the south, but cooler to the north. Now, week 3 shows low the normal heights down to the south of the country, high the north towards the north. Again, I think this is going to be a weak pressure scenario again, where we're going to have low pressure kind of centred in here. We've got the flow around the low like so. And if this came true, and this would bring more mixed conditions across most of the country, with the risk of some pretty heavy bursts of rain down towards the south. But I must admit, you know, I've just got some doubts over whether this will actually be the pattern that transpires. I mean, you can see there that, yes, it tries to bring low pressure in quite widely, and if it does come in, that would be quite mixed weather, pretty much as we've gone through recently. So we'd struggle to see 2 or 3 dry days, but I'm just not sure that's exactly what's going to happen at the moment. On the week 4, so this is from the 28th of June through to the 4th of July, higher than normal to the north, low the north east and west. And it does try to link some sort of ridge back through the country, but I think what we'd find on that is probably quite a slack pressure flow, some mixed weather and some showers. So it looks as if we're not going to get the westerlies in. I think we can be quite certain about that. We're not going to see a breakthrough into westerlies and sort of very changeable summertime conditions. I think the problem we're going to see in the next couple of weeks really is just one of forecasting where the showers are, where thunderstorms occur. Probably, I think Scotland is the driest of all. Probably the south of England is wettest. But I do think we'll still see these 2 or 3 day dry periods at times. It's just that the weather machine at the moment really wants to make us work to try and produce a forecast. So, plenty to be thinking about for now, but thanks for watching. And, of course, we'll update you again tomorrow on the latest situation. But thanks for watching. Keep the sun shining. Bye for now.